Rob, Cheryl, Angela Tovar grew up on the southeast side of the city, close to the flames and smoke of the steel mills. She says she knows the personal effects that pollution can bring to our most vulnerable communities. Now she's tasked with implementing new changes to city policy to protect high-risk areas on the south and west side from ongoing environmental racism.
I can recall so many stories of my childhood, just like the big fire flare in the sky, passing the mills.
Angela Tovar grew up in the South Chicago neighborhood, her parents migrating from Mexico to work in the steel mills on the southeast side of the city. 2
out of the 4 of us suffered from very severe asthma growing up. And, that's not a connection that you make at the time. Not a lot of criticism back then of the pollution impacts of steel production.
The impact of that industry is what helped inspire Tovar to pursue environmental work. She grew up just streets away from the neighborhood here on the southeast side, nicknamed Slag Valley, because of the steel mills and the toxic waste that was kept out in the open air.
All of that is part of my history and really was a motivator.
Walking in Big Marsh Park in the South Deering neighborhood on what was once land polluted by industry, but now reclaimed and remediated by the Chicago Park District, Tovar says her intention is to implement policy changes to protect communities that are still centers of industry in the city.
People that are most impacted by pollution are Black and brown and low-income communities on the south and west sides, communities that are either bisected by major highways and/or communities that are in close proximity to clusters of pollution-producing facilities.
The new department, she says, will work towards solutions by coordinating citywide responses to environmental injustice.
We really want to overcome that as the city of Chicago. Part of that is understanding and acknowledging that history. It is grappling with our role as city government and whether we did it intentionally or unintentionally, what our role was in that history.
Recommendations from the Environmental Justice Working Group were released late last year, tracking efforts to increase city environmental testing of vacant lots, reduction of traffic congestion, emissions control procedures, freight-reducing street designs, green alleys to reduce flooding, tree planting, community-level air quality monitoring, and updating zoning regulations for where and what industries can operate, among a host of other initiatives.
Is there a review that can take place at the time of zoning so we can think about whether or not a facility fits within the context of the surrounding community, or if there is an environmental harm that emerges through a development process, how can we evaluate that and mitigate that?
Tovar says a major milestone is coming to Chicago next year when the city plans to use 100% renewable energy at all city facilities through a partnership with a solar farm downstate and purchase of clean energy credits.
In addition to that, we're transitioning our fleet. We're moving to all electric as well. And we have an overarching plan to reduce the city's carbon emissions 62% by the year 2040.
So a lot more to watch here. Obviously, a monumental task ahead for the city's Department of Environment, touching on all other city departments. Tovar emphasizing that community involvement is key to solving these issues.
Watch breaking news on YouTube. Subscribe to ABC7 Chicago Eyewitness News.